Hi, it's Pavel, and today we are going to create a game of crabs. This is from the book C# 2012 How to Program, Chapter 8, Exercise 18. We are going to write an app that runs 1,000 games of crabs and answers the following questions. How many games are won on the first roll, second roll, third roll, 20th rolls, and after the 20th rolls? In other words, we'll be collecting from 1 through 20, and then on the 21st roll and over, everything will fall into the 21st roll. Like if it's 22 rolls, we will simply assign it to the 21st rolls. All right, how many games are lost? Again, on the first, second, third, 20th roll, or after the 20th roll. And what are the chances of winning at craps? We are going to discover supposedly that it's one of the fairest games, and what is the average length of a game of craps. Now the rules are simple. You have two dice, and we roll them and you get the sum of both dice. If you roll 7 or 11 on the first roll, like you roll it right away, and then you win. If you roll 2, 3, or 12 and it's your first roll, you lose. Any other sum, it becomes, they call it point. So basically, if you roll 6, that becomes your point, and you'll be rolling until you get 6, your point, or until you roll 7. If you roll 7 before you roll your point, then you lose. There are some special names. If the sum is 2, they call it snake eyes. 3, they call it tray. 7, they call it 7, how creative. And 11 is yo 11, and 12 is boxcars. It technically doesn't matter what they call it, but yeah, we can use that. All right, so again, if you're not familiar with the rules, just pause the video, read it again, so you will better understand what I'm going to be doing now. And now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some classes, and the first class I'm going to create is, I'll call it rolls, and this class will be responsible for the roll. That's why I call it rolls. In it, we need the random number, because obviously the rolls will be simulated with a random number. So private gonna be random, I'll call it rand, and I'll initialize it in our constructor. So I public rolls, and we will initialize it the random, the object random, like that. And that's the only variable we need. We will need a property for die 1 and die 2. We don't need a variable, we can just use a property die 1 get and set, and the same for die 2, die 2 get and set. And now we will roll the dice. So public, and it will return an integer. It will return the sum of the dice. So I'll call it roll dice, and basically it will assign the random number to each die. So our die 1 will be set to a random number, random integer from 1 through 6. So 1 is inclusive, and 6 would be exclusive. So in other words, it would be only 1. If I wrote this, it would be 1 through 5. I have to put 7 there, because then it will become 1 through 6. And the same with the die 2. So our random next 1 through 7, or 1 through 6 basically. And we will simply return the die 1 plus die 2. And that's our rolls class. We will not do anything. This is only responsible for rolling the dice and returning the sum of the dice. Now I'm going to create another class called crabs. So I'll call it crabs, and this will have the actual logic in it. Now, before we remember, we're supposed to do all the statistics and all that, but first I need to make the game itself. That's what I'm doing right now. Before we try to evaluate the statistics or collecting the statistics about each game, we need to run the game. So, first things first, I need some, well, don't need it, but I'm going to use it, enumerations. And it's going to, I'll call it dice sums. Remember when I told you they have some special names? I'm going to put these, sum 2 equals snake eyes, 3 equals tray. I'm going to put that in my enumerations. So our snake eyes, and it equals the sum of 2. Alright, our tray equals the sum of 3, and there was 7, which equals the sum of 7. I think there was some yo 11 or something. Yeah, yo 11 is 11 and boxcar is 12. So our yo 11 equals 11 and boxcars car was it equals 12. Let me see if it was plural. Yeah, it is. All right, so cars. Okay, so this is our enumeration called dice sum. Now we can use another one for the status of the game. So I will do another enumeration. I'll just call it game status, and this one will simply hold win, lose, and I don't know, play more. Like, remember, you either win or you lose or you get a point, and if you get a point, then you keep rolling until you roll the point or until you roll 7, in which case you would lose. So play more simply means keep playing. Alright, so now we will need the object roles to get the so we can access the roll dice method, and obviously we will need some variables for our enumerations. So I'll just call it the same but with lowercase. So game status will equals game status, and alright, so I don't think I need it for this one. We'll see. And I can do a public constant, and it's gonna be integer, and it's gonna be the number of games. Remember, we're supposed to play 1000 games, so I'll use it now. Now again, this is going to be used later after the game actually runs. Okay, so let's do our constructor. So our public crabs, and we can initialize some of the variables. Now, so let's start with the roles. We will instantiate the object, and the next thing, we can instantiate the game status, and it will simply equal, at the beginning it will equal the to play more. When we start in the first round. So our game status will equal play more. Alright, so you know what, one more thing I will need is to collect the number of rolls, how many times I rolled the dice. That's gonna be again probably for the statistics, but I'll just initialize it right now. Number of rolls, and I will start, the minimum is going to be 1. You roll the dice at least once, so I'll start with 1. I'll initialize it to 1. Alright, so next thing, we can do a method called something like play game. And in this method, we will roll the dice. Alright, so our game status, well, actually it's already initialized to play more, so we can simply do while our game status equals the game status that play more, In other words, until the round is not finished, we will be playing. Except it's while, like that. So what am I gonna do is we need to roll the dice. So we will call the roll dice and collect the return value, the sum, in a variable. So I may need I'm thinking if I should just use the variables, or yeah, I can do that. I can use just properties like a public integer sum, which will hold the sum of the dice, and we will also need, remember, the point. So it's gonna be another property. In case no one wins, we have the point, get and set. So I can go back to the loop now and do something like our sum will equal whatever is returned from the rolls that roll dice. We are calling the method in our rolls class roll dice, which returns the sum of the dice. So we have the sum of the dice now, and now we need to evaluate what it is. Is it 2, 3, or what the value actually is. So I'm going to create a private. We don't need this public because this is going to be called within the class only. It's going to be a method called evaluate the roll, like that. All right, and so after we get the sum, I'm going to call this method evaluate roll, and it will set the basically it will set the game status, and it will set everything, the point within this method. So we are going to use a switch statement to evaluate the dice sums. Remember, that's our enumeration. And we what is the sum? Which the sum, if remember, we have a pair here. If the sum is 2, then it's snake eyes. If it's 3, then it's trace. So if the sum equals 2, then we get the snake eyes, like I said. So we are evaluating the sum of the dice sum enumeration. And within this, we can do the case dice sums. If the sum equals 7, then we win. All right, so if the case is 7, we win. However, we also win when the case is, I believe it was 11. Yeah, if the sum is 11, then we win. So we can fall through and do another case before we do any break. So if the sum equals 11 or yo11, then we win too. So in other words, you can read this as if the sum is 7 or if the sum is 11, then perform whatever we're going to code right now. And if in this case, what is going to happen is that we will set the game status to win, because our game status, because this is the winning roll. So our game status will equal the game status of win. And we don't get any point because the game is over. We won. So our point will simply, I'll set it to 0. Okay, so that's all. We can just do the break. Now, if case is the snake eyes, then we lose. We also lose if it's if the sum is 3, which is they call tray. So if the dice sums that tray case, then we still lose. And finally, we also lose if it's 12, which is the boxcars. So if dice equals to what was it, boxcars, then we lose. In other words, in these 3 cases, we lose. So we will set the game status to lose, and we will set the point again to 0 because again the game is over, we lost, so we'll just break. If it's neither of these, then the game status will be keep playing, we have the point. So if in our default it's kind of like else statement at this point, our game status equals game status dot play, oops, it's a capital G, game status dot play more, and this time we have a point, so our point will now equal whatever we just rolled. In other words, it's the sum. And now we will have to match our point in order to win, or roll 7 and lose. So we will break out of this, and that's that. This is our evaluate roll. It sets the game status. Remember, we are playing until game status equals play more. If we win or if we lose, then the game is over. We can go to the next round. All right, so that's that. And what we can do now is kind of display the status, display the message for the game. So I will come down here. Let me do it up here so you can see it better. I will simply do private void and display messages, and this will simply display, congratulations, you won, or sorry, you lost. So after we evaluate this, we are going to call this display messages function. All right, so where am I? Oh, here am I. All right, so our display messages, once again, we can do a switch statement, and this time we are going to evaluate the game status. We are going to evaluate if the game was won, lost, or if we keep playing. So if the case is game status dot win, then yeah, we won. We can do console dot write line, I don't know, congratulations, you rolled, and we can do the sum of the roll, you win. All right, so and here we will pass the value of sum to it. So that's for our win. Now we also need to, of course, break, and if the game status is lose, then we will display, I will just copy this and paste it right here. Sorry, you lost. Sorry, you rolled, again the sum, you lose. Okay, now the default again would be if it's the play more status. Now if the remember, we have the number of rolls set to 1. In other words, this is our first roll. So if our first roll, if this is our first roll, then we will set the point. So if the number of rolls equals 1, then we can simply output console.write line and something like your point is, and we will pass the point to it, and then something like keep rolling. Okay, so we will pass the point, which is at this point remember we set it to sum of the dice. So yeah, over here we set it the point to the sum of the dice. So we pass in the point there, and if this is not our first roll, if point was already set in the previous roll, then we'll do the else statement and do console.write line. It's just to distinguish between whether we are just setting the point with this roll, or if we are trying to match the point that we already made in previous roll. we will simply do your point is just like that we did before, but you rolled. Now we will inform the user that he rolled some other sum. So, or maybe he matched it. We'll see. In other words, it will say, let's say your point is 6, you rolled 7, and now it will simply say keep rolling. All right. So keep rolling, because the point was not matched. So we will pass the point, and when it says you rolled, the placeholder will have our sum that we just rolled with this particular roll. Okay, so at the end we have to of course break. We are still within the switch statement, and yeah, that this will display the appropriate messages, and we already have the game loop set over here, when it, we play until we win or we lose. Okay, so now we can come back to our game loop and find out. Okay, we have our roll, and are we playing again, or are we playing a new game? Are we still in the same game, just a different round of the, like, do we play more, or are we playing another game? So within this loop, I will have another loop with the same way. So the game status equals game status dot play more, because we are basically continuing playing. Remember, the game status is already set over here. If the game status is win or lose, this loop is never going to be executed. It will come over here, and it will terminate this loop as well. This will only execute if we didn't win or we didn't lose within the first roll. So if we keep what we're going to be doing is basically keep playing the game. So what I can do, I can create another function or a method called keep playing. This is basically going to be executed after the first roll, if it was not one win or lose roll. So we will roll the dice again. We will do the sum equals the rolls dot roll dice. So again we are rolling the dice randomly, assigning the numbers and storing the sum of those two dice. Now if the sum equals the point, then we won. All right, so over here I can do game status equals game status dot win. Else if the sum equals 7, then we lose. In other words, if we roll 7 before we roll our point again, we lose. So our game status equals game status dot lose. And if neither of it is true, then we still keep playing. So we will simply roll again and again. So game status equals play more. So over here in this loop, again we will do the we will call the method keep playing, which will be rolling the dice, and it will check again over here if the game status is play more. If it is, then it will keep playing and rolling the dice again and again. Now I'm going to be also increasing the number of rolls here. Number of rolls to kind of store how many rounds it took. And after each roll, after we roll the dice, we will display messages. Remember, at this point, number of rolls will we set it to 1, but over here we add 1 to it, so it will be 2 if we still keep playing. So now when we go to display messages, it comes over here let's say we keep playing again, we didn't win, we didn't lose, so it comes over here and it checks, is number of roll equals to 1? It says no. So display this message instead. It says, again, the point was already set in the previous round, so it will say your point is, it will repeat what it is, and you rolled, and it will give us the sum of that we rolled just now, and keep rolling. Okay, so except I'm forgetting my equals. So yeah, this is the whole game, I believe. So let's try to implement it into our program, and it's gonna be very simple. We will simply create an object of crabs equals new crabs. We do not have to instantiate the roles, because remember, crabs does it for us in its constructor. So we have that, and we will simply do the crabs dot play game, and that's that, because everything is being rolled from play game. All the functions or the methods are being called from there. So at the end, I will simply do console dot read line just to post the output. Okay, so let me try to run it. Let's see what we get. Oh, congratulations, you rolled 11, you won. So right on the first try. I wanna see, okay, here you have, I rolled 6. So it says keep rolling. Then I rolled again, it says your point is 6, but you rolled 8. So keep rolling. Again, I rolled 8 again, but my point is 6, so I keep rolling. It just keeps telling me, okay, your point is 6, but you rolled 5, keep rolling, and so forth. And at the end it says, okay, you rolled 6, in other words, you match the point, you win. Let's try one more. I wanna lose. I rolled 6 again, so it's my point. First time I rolled after that was 5, so I keep playing, but the third one I rolled 6 again, and I won. And I won again, 7. I keep winning. Look at that. Your point is 5, keep rolling, and right after that I rolled 5 again. Man, do I even lose? Do I have it set up wrong or something? Oh no, here's the lose. So my point is 9. I tried to roll 9, but I can't, and instead I rolled 7, which means I lose. Alright, so this is the game. Now, let's do the statistics.